unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. If you listen to my little recording yesterday, you would think that I would be down in Brisbane right now, maybe playing songs out of my van at a little musical festival called Star City Music Festival. But I'm not. Instead, I'm at home, and I'm making this little tape. Let me give you some backstory. Last year, I was invited to play a song of mine with the All-Star Jam. We played a song of mine called The Center of the Universe with a big band, horn section and everything. It was okay. I hadn't played as a lead singer of a band for almost ever, so I did as good as I could. People were dancing, they had fun, whatever. But the other thing was that I brought my piano van there, and the idea was that I was going to do songs in between sets, and I did about 7 songs. But then I realized, as great as my van sounds out of context, like downtown or at the beach, compared to a big stage sound, it's a bit of a disappointment. So I felt insecure, and I closed my doors and left. I didn't play between and we didn't have a contract or anything. I just said, I've got this van, I'll bring it down, right? So I did. Then I got insecure and I left, and I played songs in other places in the city to kind of recover. I guess comedians go through this thing too. Like if they have a bad set, often they have to quickly go to another club to have a good set. Otherwise they feel like death. So that's how I felt. And I went, in San Francisco and played a couple of sets, and it was great. Anyway, so that's that. And I sent a thank you text to both Mikey and his partner, Jimmy, and said thanks and explained why I didn't stick around for the entire festival, right? As if I have to play between every single set. So then Mikey last week or 2 weeks ago said, hey, remember, come down and do that again this year. This time we'll pipe your sound into the sound system, and it'll sound a lot better. I thought that'll be fun. I'll be playing in my van, but the sound will be coming out of the big sound system. That sounds fun, right? So I say, okay. Meanwhile, my dad's getting old. I'm going back to Utah. So I go hang out with Mikey in Reno. We see Loverboy. He reminds me of the Star City Music Festival. I go, okay. But then on Monday, I got a hair up my butt, as I do, to go to Utah. And I'm driving to Utah on Tuesday, I think it was. And I get a call from Mikey. I'm in Reno, pulling into Reno. And he goes, don't forget about the Star City Music Festival on Friday. We're going to have a van jam, sleep over in the park the night before. And I go, oh, fuck, I'm on my way to Utah. I forgot all about it. And he goes, oh, well, shit, if your dad's all right, then come back. So I sleep the night in Reno by the river and wake up in the morning, and I drive all the way back to San Francisco instead of driving on to Utah. Fine. So I spend the week just kind of twiddling my thumbs, practicing what songs I'm going to do at the Star City Music Festival. And last night, Friday, I drive down to Brisbane for the van sleepover. But there are no other vans this time. Last year there were 4 or 5 vanners. This time, only me. And Mikey's nowhere to be found. And I see Jimmy, and Jimmy is acting very weird and standoffish, As soon as I get there, he's like, hey, Merkley, well, I'm going to go get dinner. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Anyway, I decided that I was going to have Mikey on as my first guest on this podcast, because I want to interview people too. And I figure Mikey will do it. Mikey comes back about a half an hour later, and Mikey's a little weird too, I'll be honest. He's being a little weird. But he is weird, so it's not that weird. So we do about a half-hour long podcast, and it goes pretty good. you know. He excuses himself to go sleep out on the stage. And I go home and edit the podcast. I'm a little disappointed that my microphone was too low and his was too high. And not super excited about my interviewing skills. And I left Mikey last night saying, he wanted me to... He was acting weird. He's going, well, I don't know. Jimmy hired another band, a brass band, to do the in-betweens. And so I'll get you in there for sure, though. And I'm like, well, what? I came all the way back from Reno because you reminded me thrice for this thing. He goes, oh, don't you worry. I'll get you on there. Of course, this morning he texts me and he says, I don't know, man. Jimmy's got this other band, and no matter what I say, he doesn't want to do it, and I'm pissed off, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm like going, well, whatever. I'm kind of relieved, to be honest, and I saw it coming with as weird as Jimmy is behaving, and I saw it coming for my entire life, which is why I have built my van the way it is, literally to be independent. Every move that I've made in my life has been to be independent. I quit my last job in 1991, have been self-employed ever since, bought property so I wouldn't have to answer to a boss. Everything I've done in my life is to be independent, and the reason why is because relying upon other people only leads to heartache and disappointment every time. It's so funny because who cares if I'm not playing at that thing? It's like I'm bringing my own equipment anyway. The only advantage for me would be to literally plug a wire into their sound system and be blasted through that. Otherwise, it's all kind of not what I would like to do. The whole point about having a van and my own sound system is that I can pull up anywhere and surprise people with a wonderful sound system and some beautiful songs. When you're playing in and amongst all the rest and you have a time slot and it's expected, what's fun about that? I hate that shit. Quite frankly, I'm not even into live music. I'm one of those weird guys that I'm always gone against the grain. I'd rather listen to somebody's record in my own time, so I can close my eyes or sing out loud as I'm driving or whatever, I don't want to see it live. When I go to a live show, let's face it, most bands have maybe 2 or 3 good songs. Most bands. Of course, there are some bands that have way more than that. But most of them only have a few. And even the best, I'm always like, oh, fuck, where's the fast forward thing? And not only that, but fans drive me nuts. Like over-exuberant cheering for deep cuts on the album that I don't even like. It drives me crazy seeing somebody jumping up and down screaming for a lame song. It's like, go ahead. Why don't you save your applause for the really good one? Anyway, I'm a dick. But that's why I'm not down in Brisbane. But maybe I'll take my van out and go play for some other people today, since I was gearing up to do it anyway. Or maybe I won't. That is the beauty of independence. I can do whatever the fuck I want. If I want to, even though Mikey and Jimmy couldn't figure out how to agree on whether or not I can plug in to the system for 5 or 6 songs. That's the fucking thing. Mikey was saying that Jimmy was pissed about last year. How are you pissed? I played 7 or 8 songs. That's like a full set. You ding dong. What do you expect? What, I'm supposed to do a Bruce Springsteen set? My God. That's the other thing is, no good deed goes unpunished. If you do favors, don't do favors for people. Ever. Never do it. Charge them. Charge them something. Always charge them. Hey, can you do me a favor? No, I could trade you something, though. What do you got to trade? Make a trade. Make a negotiation. That way you're getting something, they're getting something. It's a high five after. If you do them a favor, that will create a debt and a deficit in their mind, and that they will have to spend energy trying to figure out how to not repay that debt. That debt will exist in their mind. Even if you give it to them, they'll think, there's a deficit here. I owe. There's an imbalance. And they will seek to create balance. Anyway, independence is fun. It's not perfect, but it's okay. Thanks for listening.